I've been drinking quite heavily for most of today, so if I stop making sense at some point, you'll all understand why. I'm 40 years old, and my wife is 38. She was always adamant that we wouldn't have children. I wanted them, but I loved her more than the idea of becoming a father. We met when I was 20 and she was 18, and by the time I turned 22, we were married. She came from a very privileged background, and her parents never approved of me. They thought she had married below her station, as they liked to put it. A few months ago, she visited her parents, and her father bought her a brand new car. Her family has serious money, and over the years, she's received countless gifts from him. I trusted her completely, so I didn't question it. Why would this one be any different? But then a couple of weeks ago, everything changed. She told me she was pregnant, and for a moment, I felt happier than I'd ever been in my life. That joy didn't last long, though. I got a call from a friend who said he'd seen her with her brother-in-law while she was visiting her parents. She hadn't mentioned seeing him, and honestly, their relationship has always made me uncomfortable. There's something about the way they interact, too familiar, too close, that just didn't sit right with me. Still, I convinced myself that she chose me, that whatever weird dynamic existed between them wasn't anything to worry about. Or so I thought. My friend sent me some pictures, and that's when everything fell apart. The images showed them gazing into each other's eyes, holding each other like lovers. In one picture, she looked at him with a tenderness I'd always hoped was reserved for me. His hands were tangled in her hair as he kissed her. It hit me like a punch to the gut. Not only did they seem intimate, but it also dawned on me that he might have been the one who really bought her the car. When I confronted her, she lied. She denied seeing him, telling me I should know the score between them, and that she had to be civil. When I showed her the pictures, I told her to leave. Then I did the math in my head, and realized the dates lined up perfectly. There's a very real chance he could be the baby's father. Today, I asked her for a DNA test, but she exploded at the suggestion, furious at the thought of subjecting her child to such scrutiny. Without the test, though, there's no way I can accept this child as mine. This whole ordeal has forced me to reconsider our marriage. Not only am I questioning whether we can move past this betrayal, but I'm also wondering how honest she's been throughout our entire relationship. How many of those expensive gifts she's received over the years actually came from her father? Has she simply spread her legs for anyone willing to buy her something nice? Have I truly married a monster? To hurt her back, I sent the pictures to her sister, not out of noble intentions, but because I want to cause pain. If I can't have happiness, neither can she or her brother-in-law. On Monday, I plan to talk to a lawyer and start divorce proceedings. I need her permission for the DNA test, which she's already made clear she won't give. Even without it, infidelity doesn't carry much weight in UK courts, so the next step is simple: get divorced and lose half my stuff. But maybe losing everything will finally set me free. For nearly 10 days now, I haven't spoken to my wife. She's sent messages and left voicemails, but I haven't responded to any of them. My position is clear. When she agrees to a DNA test, I'll speak to her. Until then, silence. I spent Christmas with a close friend, and he gave me some advice about what to do next. He reminded me of things I used to love, rowing and boxing, and encouraged me to pick them up again. So, I'm planning to restart those activities. I'm also giving up alcohol for the foreseeable future. It's not helping my mental state. Next week, I have appointments with both a lawyer and a therapist. Right now, my focus is on sorting myself out mentally, emotionally, and legally. Whether or not I end up getting divorced, I need to know my options and fully understand the consequences. I've talked to my sister-in-law a few times, and she seems to be going through something similar. She plans to file for divorce early next year. Their daughter complicates matters even further, especially if the baby turns out to belong to her husband. If that happens, their family will become one seriously broken mess. At this point, I'm torn between wanting the baby and rejecting it entirely. If it's mine, I'll finally get to be a dad. but my life will become infinitely more complicated. If it's someone else's, I can walk away clean and start fresh somewhere else. Maybe I'll apply for a work visa in America, transfer to a European branch of my company, or spend a few years traveling the world. Honestly, I haven't thought that far ahead yet, but I doubt I'll stay in the UK. If the baby is mine, though, things will grow much more intricate. I haven't told her about my plans for the future because right now she isn't part of them. That might change, but based on where I stand today, it seems unlikely. As updates go, this one probably feels disappointing, but it's the truth. If she agrees to a DNA test, I'll provide another update. But at this point, that seems unlikely. Recently, I transferred temporarily to one of the northern branches of my company. They say a change is as good as a rest, and in this case, it couldn't have been truer. Working somewhere different helped me clear my mind, and being away from constant reminders of my situation was refreshing. When I returned home, it became painfully obvious how unhappy I've been living and working in London. It's not a city I enjoy, and I've decided to move elsewhere. During my time away, I briefly pursued a casual relationship with someone else. At first, I thought meaningless sex might help ease the pain, and during the act, it did. But afterward, guilt crept in and I stopped. Last Monday, my wife gave birth to the baby. A few days later, she agreed to a DNA test. We met on Wednesday and it was surreal. It had been 6 months since we last spoke, so the meeting was awkward to say the least. Her parents still don't like me, and recent events haven't improved their opinion of me. She kept asking me if I could feel anything while holding the baby. I'm not sure what exactly she meant, but I did feel something. I told her about my decision to move, and surprisingly, she seemed supportive. She insisted it could be a fresh start for us. Throughout the conversation, she maintained that she never had an affair. Part of me wants to believe her, but without evidence, I can't trust her words. Right now, I'm uncertain whether I want her to come with me. A few days ago, I received the results of the DNA test, and it confirmed the baby is mine. She's made her position clear. She wants us to be one family, one household. The problem is, I'm not sure if that's what I want anymore. To be honest, I don't know what I want at all. Right now, I feel confused and uncertain. Should I stay with her or leave her? In many ways, I'm tied to her through our son, but that doesn't mean I have to remain in this marriage. I've been putting a lot of thought into this decision before making it final. My therapist says trust is essential in any relationship. Without it, there can't be a real connection. He also asked if I could ever trust her again, or see myself trusting her in the future. Those are questions I don't have answers to yet. This was the last update I provided. I mentioned that I wouldn't share any further updates on this story, because I don't see the point anymore. Life moves forward and so must I. Now let me tell you another story. A tale of betrayal, heartbreak, and redemption. When I was 20, I met my first girlfriend. She was the first person I ever slept with, and eventually we got engaged, married, and moved in together after 6.5 years of dating. Our relationship wasn't perfect, but I loved her deeply. Over time, however, suspicions began creeping in. One of her coworkers started acting overly clingy toward her, sending red flags everywhere. I ignored them initially because, well, she was the love of my life. Why would she betray me? But the doubts persisted. She constantly messaged this coworker, favoring him over me even when I specifically asked us to do things together. Once she took him to a bird park I loved visiting. Another time, she invited him over for a sleepover when I was out of town. When I returned, the bed sheets were in the wash, though nothing seemed unusual otherwise. On New Year's Eve, I reached my breaking point. She acted distant, treating me like I'd done something wrong. That night, I checked her phone and found messages where they confessed their love for each other. I felt utterly destroyed, but foolishly, I tried to salvage our relationship. Weeks later, I discovered they'd been sexting each other. After a massive argument, she promised to change. Foolishly, I believed her. Their affair continued until August, when I caught them again. Before that, there were instances where she distanced herself from me, only for me to later learn she'd been spending time with him. Suspicion resurfaced when she claimed to go to the gym 3 to 4 times a week, but only washed one set of gym clothes by the end of it. Nothing about her fitness routine seemed different either. Eventually, I demanded a divorce when I learned she'd named a star after him for his birthday, just a week before mine. She lied to friends and family, blaming the split on growing apart and wanting different things. In retaliation, I posted everything online: her confessions, the star purchase, photos of them on trips I knew nothing about. Looking back, it wasn't my finest moment, nor was it fair. After the divorce, I swore I'd never speak to her again. For 2 years she tried contacting me twice, but I ignored her both times. Still, I keep copies of all the evidence she left behind just in case. Losing her marked the beginning of a roller coaster ride. For months later, for days before Christmas, I lost my job and my house, moving back in with my mom. Eventually, I picked myself back up, found a new job, started looking for a new place to live, and returned to karate. Now I'm part of a kata squad, reconnecting with old friends and building new ones. In the end, I learned a valuable lesson. Trust is fragile, but resilience is powerful. And for that, I'm grateful for the support of friends, the strength of community, and the courage to rebuild.